Promise I'll be okay.
Will you be fine without your
Mhm.
phone?
It's like medicinal for me to forget my phone at this point.
I was talking to Sebastian Younger yesterday, and he has no smartphone. And I was so impressed by the fact
That's
that he was able
wild.
to do that. I just imagine going around the
Oh,
world with just
How
a.
do you
that sounds
travel, or
amazing.
how do you
He has
I
a
don't
flip
know.
phone. He has a flip phone, so that
Yep.
qualifies.
We are live, folks. We're live.
We are
Just to let you know.
live.
Okay.
Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. Nice to see this great group of people here. Lev Parnas,
Yeah.
Kate Justice, and Ellie Leonard. Kate, you and I
Okay.
were left out of the party a little while ago, but there was a
Yeah.
big event on the Joy Reid show here on Substack, where Lev
I
and
did
Ellie
watch all of
were
it. Yeah.
talking about all sorts of things related to Michael Cohen and related to Katie Johnson. So we got to catch up on what happened there. Tell us what went on. What did we
Yeah.
miss? And
Yeah.
what
No.
should we know about the show that you had?
Absolutely. So while we're getting in, folks, hit those, slam those hearts as far as because we got an incredible show for you. A lot of information, some information that you're not going to hear anywhere else between what Zev, what Katie, and what Ellie have uncovered is incredible. And we're going to talk about. I'm talking about actually maybe murder. We're talking about maybe burying bodies. We're talking about I mean,
Oh,
Oh,
no.
and that
Oh,
was such a good
no.
cliffhanger he had. Well, while Lev
I
joins
know.
us back, and I'm not sure why he's disappeared
Lev, are
there.
you okay?
We are going to be talking about all sorts
Yeah.
of things, including
Yeah.
these buried bodies and the alleged murders that apparently happened at two places. One was at the Zorro Ranch, and the other was at a Trump golf course. And here's Lev returning from the dark side.
I'm
We're
back.
worried about you,
Hey,
I'm
sir.
Lev, they
back.
got you, Lev.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. It was my son Aaron calling me. Maybe he had
Okay.
something, so
Oh,
I'll call back.
He can jump on
So I
if
was
he
gonna
wants.
say, yeah,
yeah.
maybe he will. I'll text him right now. Hold on, let me tell him that. Send him our live, and if he wants to, I'll tell him
Do you
he
want me to
is
give you a
more than
little
welcome.
update about, like, what we
Yeah.
found with Michael Cohen while he's doing that? Is that all right, Lev?
Yeah, before we go into update, I just want to give maybe a quick 30-second, tell everybody what was
Yeah,
supposed to
go for it.
happen and background because so they know what was supposed to take place. So quickly, about a few days ago, all of a sudden, Joy Reid reached out to me and said that Michael Cohen reached out to her and basically started telling her about some different cases and the Jane Doe and that me, Ellie, and Zev and everybody have it confused and this is bad reporting and really confused Joy to a point where he made her start looking into things and really starting to push her in the wrong direction. So Joy called me up and said, "Lev, do you mind if we do one-on-one with you and Michael Cohen? I'll rent a studio. We'll fly you into New York. We'll sit down and because the Katie Johnson case is extremely important. I think the world needs to know. And afterwards, we'll have a panel with like Ellie, Waj, and Katie Fang and others that or Zev that could, discuss the validity of what you guys discuss." I said, absolutely, 100% Joy, I'm all in. Then I got called back basically saying that Michael Cohen has refused to be with me in the same place because he considers this to be Jerry Springer. Then we decided that we would do it on video, Zoom, that we could have like on a Substack where
Mm.
Joy could moderate and me and Michael could be there and we could discuss and get all of this out because Michael keeps going, is still on his platform and still lying about, and I don't care about the insults that he does to us guys because, we have thick skin, but it's the fact that he's doing an injustice to the survivors and the fact that he's no better than what Donald Trump is doing by deflecting, by trying to protect himself, but instead of being one of those people that are trying to get to the bottom of actually figuring out the truth behind what's going on here. So Michael then decided he's not going to do that either. He said he's not going to be with me on the same panel because he doesn't want us, we're going to argue. Even though I told Joy I'm not even going to raise my voice. The facts are facts. I have no reason to argue with him.
Mm.
Then Michael Cohen came back and said he wants to go on first, and then me and Ellie could come on afterwards, and we could discuss it. So basically, today, me and Ellie were the producers from Joy Reid Show reached out to both Ellie and I and asked us if that was okay with us. And me and Ellie said absolutely. And last night, me and Ellie were talking, and this case, and I said, Ellie, please do me a favor because it's not just about the case. Because folks, I want you to understand, even if the fact that this wouldn't be the same case, even if it wouldn't be Katie Johnson and Jane Doe and Michael Cohen, Michael Cohen still has a lot to talk about. Still, there's so much more that Michael Cohen knows about stuff going on in Trump world, Epstein, and everything else. And I explained that to Joy. I said, Joy, it's not just one thing, but I understand it's extremely important. So do me a favor. I said, can you? And I connected Joy and Ellie, and I said, please double check because I am confident. If Ellie tells me that this is the same case, I'm going to go with that. So Joy and Ellie got in touch. They were going back and forth, and finally, Ellie called me last night and said, "Listen, this is the same case. Ellie also reached out to the private investigator at Opperman, right? Am I correctly
Oppenheimer.
saying his name? Oppenheimer. Okay, good. I don't want to mispronounce. And he was the actual investigator for
Oh, you're
Lisa
right.
Bloom on the
Opperman. I'm
KDJ.
saying it wrong. It's
Opperman.
Opperman.
Okay, Opperman.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry. Sorry, Ed.
Ed also confirmed. Ed also confirmed to Katie that I mean
Hmm.
to Ellie that this is the same case. So Ellie told me
Right.
that last night, and I said, and me and Ellie both confirmed. We said, listen, we should let Joy know so she doesn't get caught off guard and
Hmm.
Michael doesn't make her look like she doesn't. You know what I'm saying to you? So Ellie today earlier sent Joy all the stuff and told her, listen, this is where we are. This is where it is. And Joy, like a good reporter, she didn't try to do a gotcha moment with Michael. She called him up and said, look, Michael, this is what Ellie, Lev, and this is what they're going to come with, which again, we're being transparent because we're not trying, this is not a show. And we're trying to get to the bottom of the truth. We're trying to get to accountability and we're trying to get to justice. And Michael keeps preaching that he's part of that team. So when Joy told him that, Michael canceled the show. Michael said he's not going to go on the show because he obviously realized the gig is up and he's not going to be able to come use Joy Reid and confuse the situation. So at that point, Michael went on his show and continued lying and giving false information, literally. And I want to tell you, and that's the most disturbing part. What I saw Michael do today literally showed me if we did a video of Michael Cohen and Donald Trump and discussing the Epstein files, it's the same exact MO. It's basically protecting himself, deflecting from the whole situation, never ever giving any information. And when they get confronted with certain facts, they basically blame others. Everything is a lie, everything is lie. And the bottom line, say, see no evil, hear no evil, those three monkeys. So, basically that's where we were. So we went on the show
Yeah.
and basically, well, now I could pass it off to Ellie. Ellie, why don't you tell
Well,
how, because it
well,
was
I was gonna
great
back up
because
a
we
little
had, yeah.
bit.
Oh, go ahead,
So
Ellie,
I
back up,
had
go ahead.
been, yeah, I had been writing about something else a couple of weeks ago, and somebody had reached out to me on Signal and said there's this guy named Ed Opperman, and he wants to do, he's working on some similar stuff, and he wants to, talk to you on his podcast. And so I went on his podcast, and in the middle of the podcast, he just happened to mention, like offhand, that he was Katie Johnson's private investigator, and I about fell out of my chair because there's very few people that have met Katie Johnson
Yeah, that's
personally.
really
Now I
interesting.
know three. Um, and it was so shocking. I was like, I have questions for you, but I can't think of a single one right now because I wasn't prepared for this. But afterward, this stuff kept going on, and then we started talking to Joy Reid, and she showed me the two different cases, and I was fairly certain that it was the same case because I knew that Katie Johnson had first filed under the name Katie Johnson as a pseudonym, and then I knew she had refiled under the name Jane Doe. But there was questions about dates because she refiled a couple of times based on just getting new legal teams and having to do a better job at filing. There was nothing wrong with the case. She's represented by three different lawyers, so it's a very credible case. So when Michael Cohen came forward and said this is not the Katie Johnson case. This is another case. He said something about a Mary Jane Doe. He said something about an infant. And he said that he went out to the Bronx to look for this woman and that it was a parking lot, that her address did not exist. And so when Joy presented me with his second court case, there was something in there about an address not existing. But I took it all to Ed Opperman and I said, is this the same case? Like, I think it's the same case, but you would know if this is the same case. And he said 100% same person, same case, same plaintiff, same complaint. And then I said, is there any truth to this idea of going in the Bronx and there being a parking lot? And he goes, I don't think so. But he goes, I have everybody's address listed in this case. I will go back. I will double check. Sure enough, there's nobody from the Bronx, not a single, there's nobody near the Bronx. And so I was just very confused because I don't know where this other case would have come from. There's nothing listed unless it was a phone call that never went anywhere. But like this case that he is now saying he was a part of, this second lawsuit, which he's now connecting himself to, is the Katie Johnson case, and her private investigator that she hired and that her legal team hired is verifying that. And so like he would know better than anybody. So now I don't know why Michael Cohen would now be saying he's a part of this case if he's saying it's not Katie Johnson, and trying to pull himself away from that. It's just all getting very confusing, and it feels like it's something that's getting so extravagant that it's falling apart, I guess.
Yeah, it does feel like that he is intentionally trying to muddy the waters as much as possible here. It doesn't
By the
even
way,
really
Zev,
matter.
Waj is here. I'm
Yeah, no,
sorry
I'm
to
trying to
interrupt you.
put him. Oh, there
Waj
he
is
is. I
here.
see him now.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Oh,
Let's
you see? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
let's put
Go
him in.
ahead. Yeah.
Hello, Waj. Ooh, that's not Waj. Where's Waj? That's me. How did that happen? I had him here a second ago.
Yeah, and while
There we
Zev
go.
is
There's
getting
Waj.
Waj in, while
Why?
just hey Waj, just a little add. By the way, you need to get some rest, brother. You're incredible. But just to add a
All
little
of you.
bit more context, which was I think what Joy did today, and I want to give Joy a major shout out and give her a lot of credit because it was true journalism. We didn't have a Jerry Springer show. We came and it was
No,
really we
it's
spoke about
very
facts and it
diplomatic.
was important,
Mhm.
very diplomatic, and it wasn't ganging up on Michael Cohen because Michael Cohen's irrelevant except for the fact that he has information. And the few things that I think that we got out of that this panel today is Ellie with her incredible investigative work was able to validate that those cases are the same. Then we had Katie Fang on there that was also able to, the great Katie Fang that we all love came on and validated what Ellie
Mhm.
said and validated basically
Mhm.
that yes, these are, from everything she's investigated, that these are the
Right.
same case. But also something else that Paul, what was Paul's last name? Paul Butler, I think, Paul
Yeah.
Butler, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name, but also he's a lawyer, came out and he also validated one other extremely important thing when it comes to Michael Cohen, and that's that Rule 35 letter. Because if you
Mhm.
remember, one of the things Michael Cohen really makes very light of is the Rule 35 letter, basically saying that it was a no big deal. He was trying to get out of jail and he was just saying it. I That was the
Mhm.
one of the things that really triggered me because somebody that spent time in prison understands what a Rule 35 letter is very well, and it's very difficult to get any prosecutor or judge to even give you that unless you're giving some very serious information about somebody very serious. And Michael Cohen kept making light of that, and most people couldn't understand that, and he was conflict. So Paul also confirmed and said to be
Mhm.
able to use for any prosecutor to use the Rule 35, there would have been had to Michael Cohen would have had to have been giving them sufficient information about Epstein and Trump for them to even to consider it. So I
Right.
think there was a lot of
About a significant
incredible
case, he
yeah,
also said.
yeah,
Yeah, he said it had to
yeah.
be about a significant case, and it had to be information that would have made a difference in a significant case, because otherwise Michael Cohen's case was already closed.
Let me just try get Waj back
100%.
in here. Waj, if you're
Yeah.
watching, I can't invite you through the traditional Substack thing, sadly. So this is the only way. I'm going to send you a new link, and hopefully you'll be able to get on this time. If not, we'll send you even another fresh link. You guys are so interesting to listen to because there is so much confusion around what Michael Cohen is putting out there. But what you're saying about that Rule 35 really is the thing. He knows stuff about Jeffrey Epstein that he is not telling because he was willing to proffer that stuff way back when and corner the president of the United States in order to get a lighter sentence, in order to get that to get that Rule 35 lighter sentence. This is something he obviously did because that's in the records. And he can't hide from it. So, talking about Katie Johnson is fine, and we have to talk about her, and she's an important figure here. But that isn't the only thing that we're saying about Michael Cohen. We're saying that he knows things about Epstein that he was willing
Mhm.
to proffer, and now he's not willing to say anything about Epstein. So he's
Right.
just lying. He's just plain out lying, or he lied to the SDNY. One of those things is true.
Right,
Well, the
as like a
biggest thing, what, yeah,
non-legal
go ahead.
sorry, as a non-legal expert, I was just gonna say if if there's not anything to it and it's really not that big of a deal and he was just trying to get out of jail, why not just tell us what he was gonna tell them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Gotten very
Absolutely.
why not
complicated.
just say it?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah.
you know what
Really,
really,
it's kind of that simple,
you know what, and I agree with you guys, but what really got to me, why I keep persisting on it and why I'm not staying off of him, is the method that he chose. Because I know Donald Trump very well, and it's the same exact MO. He's attacking the survivors and the victims because he starts talking about how they should come out, start naming people. He says, well, why don't the survivors come out and start naming people? He keeps putting pressure on that. He never talks about Donald Trump doing anything wrong. He just think of it. It's not like he said, for instance, okay, yes, I wasn't involved in the KD Johnson case, but there was another 13-year-old that made a case, and Donald Trump told me to go shut her up, or Donald Trump told me. See, there's a different way. Instead, he's attacking, insulting. Why insult Zev? Why insult Ellie? Why insult? Like these aren't personal. Zev doesn't know Michael Cohen. Ellie's never met Michael Cohen. They have no personal attack. His name. They asked a simple question. And the fact that he
Yeah.
is using the tactics by calling us names, by saying we're trying to cancel him, we want his subscribers, we're trying to make money off of it, we're clickbait rage. It just shows me how guilty he is. It just shows me how disgusting he is. Because in a situation like this, though, any normal human being would come out and say, "Hey guys, this is what I know. This is where I was. This is where, let's figure this out. Maybe I heard something. I wasn't involved here, but I knew this lawyer was doing that." But no, it's a complete attack on the people that are asking a simple question, and that's what really solidified it to me that Michael Cohen was as guilty when it comes to. Again, I'm not accusing him of an exact crime. Where I find Michael guilty is knowing a lot more than he is telling in a lot of this whole situation,
Oh
and
my
that's the
gosh!
bottom
Look at
line.
that surprise guest. What we actually want to give him is more limelight. To be honest, we want him to go out
Oh,
there
I
and
love
and,
it.
and tell us as much as he can. Who's the
Right.
cat, Waj? It is a cat.
This is I'm sorry, all. It was technical difficulties, and I should be in bed because I'm sick. But like a masochist, like all of us, I've gone back and forth. This is Billu, the cat who was missing for 5.5 days during the snowstorm, and then came back. So I don't know how he got back. I don't know how he survived, but that's Billu, and he's healthy, as you can see. And thank you all. I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about with Epstein, and it's just this sick. I mean, can I just say before we get into Michael, but isn't it fascinating? Ellie and I talked about this very briefly. It's not only were these people raping girls, it's that all these other people didn't care that these people were raping girls. They didn't care, right? It was like, if you look at the first thing I'm looking at is the timestamp of everything that's being released. And as we're digging through everything over the past few days, all these correspondences, folks, are 2012, 2015, 2017, 2018. Larry Summers, Zev was talking to him right up to the point he was arrested.
Yeah.
Right. And then with Michael, and I'm just going to jump in on the Michael, I was catching some of this, is, Michael has a very influential platform, I've realized, and a lot of people who mean well. Listen to Michael. I'll give you an example. Today, I went and picked up my son from school for a doctor's appointment, and all the ladies who work at the front desk are follow me. And she's like, "I saw you on Don Lemon." She goes, "I saw you on Don Lemon. You enjoy. Awesome. I listened to Don, I listened to you, and I listened to Michael Cohen." I didn't say anything. But what I realized was a lot of folks for the past 6 years, right, who are against this fascist regime, against Trump, Michael has built up a lot of trust with them. Michael is the one who came in and said, I went to jail. I'm the one who worked for Donald Trump. This is my redemption arc. I made mistakes. And a lot of people are like, okay, this sounds believable. And then when it comes to the Epstein stuff, as you have mentioned, he just behaves, I'm sorry, like all these other powerful men in the past week, where they are forced to, once it comes out, then say, like Dr. Peter Attia, Zev.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, you're right. I did party with them. And so the way he's attacked, people, you, Zev, and Lev personally, I think I'm involved. The way he's kind of accusing us of trying to get his subscribers. No, I'm not. Hey, here's a test. If you subscribe to Michael Cohen, don't subscribe to me. There you go. Wonderful. All right. There you go. I'm fine.
Me too.
That's fine.
I don't actually want him to be. I want people to subscribe to him. I have no problem with that. I just have
go give
real.
him. Just be honest,
Yeah.
Zev. Just my whole take on this is
Yeah.
I don't understand how you have a razor sharp memory when it comes to everything, but then when someone asks you anything about Epstein and Donald Trump, you all of a sudden forget. How is it that coincidentally 2 weeks ago, when all of this was coming out, thanks to Ellie and her paid subscriber and Kate and others, you then turned to Donald Trump and said, "Oh, guess what? After 9 years, I remember that Letitia James and Alvin Bragg, all of a sudden coerced me." If they coerce you, what did they coerce you about? Did you lie? Did you lie under oath? Also, why is it that you always say, "I never saw him do anything illegal. I never saw him do anything illegal." When it comes to his relationships, I'm talking about Donald's relationships with Epstein and girls.
Yeah.
Sure, it might not be illegal, but that doesn't mean it's not unethical or gross or disgusting.
Thank
And
you.
why is it that you blow up on Tara Palmieri, Ellie, Zev, everyone else when it comes to specifically this issue? And then
Well,
also the Rule 35 consideration.
Yeah.
And then finally, last thing I'll say, sorry for my
Yeah,
little
nice.
rant here,
Okay, you go
is,
ahead.
my
Continue.
little rant is here is how come you were the one who proudly bullied these women, bullied these people, paid off these women around the same time that Trump was doing all this stuff, but you have no recollection of you bullying or
Right.
paying off any other woman who could have been a victim. Sorry, that's my
No,
my
that's
2 cents.
exactly the
Or-
point. And
or-
go ahead, Ellie. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Jump in.
Well, I was just going to say, how do you have no recollection of this Katie Johnson case, but you have a recollection of the Jane Doe case that happened 1 month later? That was the same case that was brought the same way. How do you have a full recollection of that and say that, oh yeah, I was involved with that one, but I have no idea who Katie Johnson is, never heard of her, don't have anything to do with it? Like, they were the same case, it was the same person, he was accused of the same thing, and yet he's like, I never even heard of that. I don't even know what that. I mean, the first time we met him, he was saying he never heard the name Epstein the entire time he worked for
Yeah,
Donald
I
Trump.
mean, that's what his first
that's where I
reaction was.
started with him.
And that's just
Yeah.
obviously crap. I mean, look, when I looked at today's evidence that came out today in the Epstein files and discovering how close Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein really were with these sex parties. I mean, so you've got Katie Johnson there at 13 years old in 1994, getting raped at a supposed sex party by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, 1994.
And beaten.
And this is one of several incidents that gets worse, right? She gets progressively worse. She gets there was oral sex, I think, the first time. Then there's at one point he raped her, and she wanted him to wear a condom, and he refused. And ultimately,
He chained her to the bed.
Yeah, and then she threw money on the bed and just get an abortion. I think not in those kinds of words either. And so in the same year, now we found out in today's, looking through the files today, that there was another sex party at Trump's golf course, the Rancho, what's it called? Rancho Verdes golf course. I'm not getting the name wrong. I'll get it right in a second. But that Ghislaine and Jeffrey were hosting at Donald Trump's golf course. And then there are two separate, and this is news tonight, there are two separate reports to the FBI inside those FBI documents that say that Robin Leach of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous raped one of these young girls there and got so kinky, got so rough that the girl died, and that she's buried there on that golf course. Two separate accounts of the same thing. One's a girl, one's a woman, one's a man, calling into the FBI over separate years. One was in 21, one is in 25. This is, the president is hosting sex parties by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That should be easy enough to figure out if that's accurate, but it's repeatedly mentioned here in the FBI files. And then Robin Leach is twice mentioned as being a murderer, really, of one of these people that he's having rough sex with. I mean, to me, there is so much, and this is all happening in 1994. Yeah. This is the same year that Katie Johnson was allegedly raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that's a lot of smoke. That is not just a little bit of smoke. You've got multiple reports, different complainants. And then there was all this other stuff in those other complaints that were FBI received about other people being buried behind the 19th hole, using, again, different words than I'm using. But it's in all of that context, it's kind of stunning when you think the president of the United States is associated with multiple attempted rapes and potentially murder all the way back to 1994.
I was just going to say that, like, it's okay. Thank you. Just that we're getting this, and this is shocking, and we're surprised by a lot of this, but the FBI has had this for decades. They have had this for
Sick.
decades. There has never been any cadaver dogs on the 19th hole. And
Sick.
you know, Epstein's MO was he liked wayfish girls. He liked girls that looked younger, that were thinner, that were less strong, that felt weak, that looked childlike. And when you think of someone like Ehud Barak, who's out on the island and his thing was to choke girls until they passed out, the likelihood of somebody not coming to because someone took it too far, especially at Zorro, which that's been described at Zorro, that is a place that he liked to visit. You know, that is not unlikely. It's not like they were going to call the EMT to come out there and revive a girl from an Eastern European country that came in with no name. They would just deal with it. And they found an ambulance, an uncertified ambulance on the island. I mean, there's all sorts of weird things, but the likelihood of a girl being choked is not, I mean,
It's always
that
such rough
happened. That
sex
was
too. All their descriptions are so rough. I mean, there's just always so much
They were
pain, and the
violent.
descriptions of it's not just sex; it's violent.
It was
orgies.
power.
It's just very disturbing to
Sick.
read and to hear. And
Sick.
does
Can I
anyone? Yeah,
just
go ahead,
add
Kate. Yeah.
to that? And I just want to say I had made this comment earlier today that as far as as far as it being an FBI tip versus an email versus, just how true something might be, I had
Mhm.
made the comment that that is the fault of the DOJ. So they have put us in a position where we have millions of files with no context to go through because they refuse to do the job to begin with. So, aside from the victims, anybody who has a problem with anything that's coming out of this, they need to take it up. Well, victims are trying to take it up with the DOJ, but the rest of them, the people who are named in these files and even just the tips, because I know tips aren't necessarily something that panned out, but for it to be in the files that are released says something to me.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not
though they
just
have
some
been vetted to
random
some
tip.
extent, right? They had these lawyers look
Exactly.
through
Like
all
Well,
these
well,
things, or so they
it
well,
could
said.
have been something,
well,
but it's the fault of the DOJ. If they did not want us speculating like this, they should have done the job and they should have just named the people to begin
but
with
they
and
want
not
you.
turned this into what they did.
But that's the whole point, Kate. They want us guessing and justing. They don't want clarity. They're trying to throw a
Mhm.
lot. It's like throw a lot of shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
This is their whole mo. They're trying to confuse, distract, just for the simple fact the fact that they released naked pictures and names of survivors.
Yes.
That wasn't an accident. That was on purpose. That's more intimidation. That's more suffering. That's more pain. Just think about the fact. What pisses me off more than anything, and I don't know what if you guys tell me your opinion, and there are emails in there, sick perverted emails where they're talking about 9-year-old girls and all kinds of shit like that, and the
Mm.
DOJ blacked out the name of the
The
person
email
sending the
sender.
email.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, give me one reason for that. Like, so what I say, and before
Right.
I go, I just want to say that, and this is why I always say, and this is why it's so important with this crew, and I know them well. I've been around them more than most people. Is don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. And that's very important because they go out there and say a lot of things, but watch exactly what's taking place and who are. So yeah, they're giving you names. We're seeing all this craziness, but think about what's being blacked out. Think about how more
Mhm.
disrupt the other 3 million files are that they don't want to give us. Think about like how more powerful or how more connected, because it's not even the power of the people they're protecting. Some of those emails they're protecting because these are where it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's like another
Mhm.
piece to the puzzle that will connect
That's
a
right.
certain time and place and certain thing. So that's why they're like in that. It could be the same person. It could be that one person. You're like, oh shit, it was him. He was there because you have great
Yeah.
people like Yusef, Zell, what I'm saying, Ellie and Kate. They're digging into this and are connecting the dots. But
Can
it's
I?
all done on
Can I
purpose.
just
No, but
could I say
Go
something
ahead.
about
go
that
ahead.
real
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Well,
you
I just
guys
wanted
go.
to say
I'll
something
go
about
after.
that real quick because Aaron and I talked offline. I know he had found that pile of, young girls' headshots and their full driver's licenses and like birth certificates, like clearly unredacted. It was their entire life story, short of maybe their social security numbers. Like, and it was what, 30 pages of young girls ages
I
14 to
even
17.
found that.
Um, Yes, right. And then he contacted the DOJ missed it, but like they've been telling us this whole time the reason why we weren't getting the files is because they were working so hard to redact the survivors. Now you post an email online and people go, hold on, why is the email sender redacted? Because that is all the redactions. All the redactions are the people sending the emails and receiving the emails. They have nothing to do with the survivors. And now we have these leaked versions of unredacted files from the DOJ that are really scary because while independent journalists are being targeted, as we saw this week, now they are sending out unredacted versions of the entire files that include abuse and include children in compromising positions, and people have 3.5 million documents they have downloaded to their Dropbox, and they don't know if that's in there or not. And so if you end up with an unredacted version of the files, you can be prosecuted for that, and that's a target. That's on purpose because there's no place for those files to be coming from except the DOJ. They cannot be leaked from anywhere else. And so that is very intentional, that they want people, ironically, not the people who perpetrated these things, but the people who are investigating these things, they want them to be caught with raw material that they're not supposed to have.
Yeah, I've also heard rumors about viruses being embedded in there, which we can't verify, but there's still, a lot of things that they're doing that are wrong. Waj, before you jump in, I just want to play one little clip. This is 2010. This is Jeffrey Epstein under deposition here. This is what he had to say.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
I mean, what does that tell you, Waj?
We know he has. We've seen the videos, we've seen the photos, we've seen story after story. Jeffrey Epstein, in a recorded conversation with Michael Wolff, said that he was Donald Trump's closest friend. We also have from the Epstein Files, you saw the email where he said, I've known a lot of terrible people. Nobody is worse than Donald, the president of the United States of America. We know that Melania, his wife, partied with Epstein. We know that Epstein was the one who introduced Melania Trump to. I mean, I'm just saying this, folks.
But in the presence of females under the age of 18 is what he's
well, I mean, but we've seen it. We've seen the photos. We've seen the video. They used to chase models together. Allison has a tip. Allison Gill has a tip that these girls weren't just trafficked through Mar-a-Lago and Epstein's Island, but one person says that, oh yeah, my friend was trafficked through Donald's modeling agency. An underage victim. They used to chase girls ages 14 to 19. And as Ellie said, look at every single look. It's allegation, right? But some of these allegations, one of them was under the one that you read, Zev, was, I believe, a 13-year-old girl. It was under, it was to the FBI. Yeah, it was under oath, under threat of perjury, right? So this wasn't just so like half-assed. They're like, oh, no, I know that this is under oath. I know I could, if I perjure myself, I will be held liable. No, I saw, I heard that Donald Trump raped a girl. And you look at the MO, the pattern. And Elliot and I have talked about this. If you just look at the pattern of all the allegations, right? If you even look at the FBI interview of Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate before he killed himself, and he does a list of all the men: Harvey Weinstein, Donald Trump, Leon Black, Glenn Dubin, right? He just does a list. The Frenchman who was also found suicide, Jean-Luc. If you look at the Harvey Weinstein one, right, and we all found out way too much about Harvey Weinstein once all these women came out. If you look at the sex act that the cellmate described, it is completely consistent with the stuff that Harvey Weinstein used to do to other women. Yeah. If you look at all the allegations against Donald Trump, if you look at his MO, his own language, if you look at what he did to E. Jean Carroll, it is consistent, folks. That's all I'm saying. I'm just telling you what we see with the evidence of our own eyes and ears.
It's what he describes in the Access Hollywood video. Is what that's his MO, is what he describes.
You can just grab him. You can just grab him. And what did E. Jean Carroll say? He pushed me against the wall and he grabbed me. Woman after woman after woman. And then, as Zev, to your point, what's even more disturbing in what we got is not just allegations of rape, which is terrible, pedophilia, assault. He also threatens the girls with violence. threatens their family members with violence. And then I saw the same document that you saw where Ghislaine and Epstein are talking casually about like a torture snuff film. And they're also talking about like girls potentially being buried somewhere. So it goes beyond just rape, which is bad enough, trafficking, cover up, but potentially murder. And then again, I think Lev, you said something that I'm trying to tell people, right? You know, what we saw with what we've seen is not just the tip of the iceberg, right? Suppose you're building a puzzle, folks, and you're building a puzzle, and you have a lot of blank spot, but you're like, I think that's a nose, I think that's a toe, and then this adds more pieces to the puzzle. We're like, oh shit, this is not 1,000-piece puzzle, this is 100,000-piece puzzle. And there's a nose and a toe and another country and a financial institution and a billionaire. And what you're looking at is a constellation, a cabal, if you will, of some of the world's wealthiest, most powerful people, institutions, financial institutions, secret intelligence agencies, countries. And the node of it is Epstein. That's the node. And the fact that Todd Blanche said on Sunday, this is the last that we'll ever get. And the fact then he went 2 days ago on Fox and told Laura Ingraham, partying with billionaires isn't a crime. I mean, I was joking, Zev and Lev and Ellie and Kate, that by the end of the week, and it was still Wednesday, the GOP is going to be like, pedophilia, isn't that bad?
I mean, I think we're getting
now
there.
they're
I think they're already.
defining what pedophilia is. They're like, it's under a certain age is pedophilia, but over the age of like 12 or 13 is technically a different term. I got that. Some guy in Florida got on my Twitter today and said, that's not pedophilia. It has a different term. And it's like, are you justifying 13-year-olds? Because that's what it sounds like.
I mean, it's
Megyn Kelly said it last month. Barely legal.
Yeah.
Megyn Kelly.
The sick part is they're trying to 14 to 17, and and even Michael Cohen today on his show, he was talking about saying, 17, 18-year girls, that's not pedophilia. Like, I mean, you could tell the slip ups, you could tell the mentality, you could tell what and don't forget, Trump had Mrs. Teen USA or Miss Teen pageant alongside with Miss Universe at the time, and who was the
Cohen
president
was like vice
of these?
president of, wasn't he? Yeah,
He was the he was the president of these. Exactly. This is what I'm trying. This is the sick part. This is what I'm trying to say to you. It's like you just keep going and going. And the one thing I just want to touch on also, you guys, a lot of people just keep forgetting who Donald Trump is. Let me just give you a quick reminder. Donald Trump, just because he has a lot of money and he's able to do all of these fancy stuff, doesn't detract from the human being. This is a man that grew up with an authoritarian father that never loved him and basically never showed him any type of care except for money. Now Trump left and then started getting mentored by a mafia kingpin by Roy Cohen that taught him how to be a monster that he is. He associated himself with some of the most powerful monster gangsters in New York City, like Fat Tony Salerno and others. Okay, he visited those social nightclubs and then so Donald Trump was not some kind. We look at Donald Trump like he's the president of the United States today. Like, oh, how could he do that? Donald Trump, if you take a look at the time era of where it was, and if you forget about where he is now, you will see there's plenty of evidence, videos, pictures, photos, him in his own words saying exactly, acting, and they were all doing it. So that's why I'm saying, don't forget who Donald Trump is. The other thing I want to just mention before I pass it on is the most important thing I think that we're not seeing, and I think Zev has been on this more than anybody, is we've seen over all these millions of dumps of paperwork. Where are the financial folks? Where's the financial paperwork? Where is the money trail? Where's the wire transfer between Russia and the Epstein that we're hearing there were billions right before his? Where's all of that? Where the 2008? We're not seeing any of that.
It's so important because
they
refuse. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, but I mean, we know the other thing that keeps coming up as well, and I will go back to some of the other salacious tapes as well. But the connection to Russia is so evident throughout these entire dump of files. It's really hard to avoid that this is a Russian operation, maybe with, not even maybe, with Israeli intelligence services attached to it somehow. But this was quite a sophisticated, organized, not quite, a very sophisticated, organized criminal operation that was attacking America. So Jeffrey Epstein is not just some crazy guy and, who happens to be best friends with Donald Trump and they're just going wild and, people might die here and there at their sex parties. No, this is an intentional corruption of our system. This is intended to corrupt our leaders, intended to corrupt our politics. It's intended to, crash our economies time and time again so they can extract all this money out of the system. This is not some small-time little operation. This is a very big Russian-based, Russian-led operation in order to really hurt America. And,
Masha Drakova.
Yeah, Masha Drakova.
I was just going to say that name.
Who keeps coming up time and time again.
Head of the Putin youth.
I read another...
Yeah, because, okay, just jump... I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go
I just had to jump in there.
Go for it,
we were just
Ellie.
talking about this. So Masha Drakova is like the head of Putin's version of the Hitler Youth. She is his child bride, for lack of a better term. There's a movie about her called Putin's Kiss because she kissed him in public and it was all over the newspapers. She became Epstein's PR person and worked for Epstein. She then introduces Epstein to Nellie Bowles, who works for the New York Times. Who is Nellie Bowles? She is the wife of Barry Weiss, who is now editor-in-chief
Barry
of
Weiss.
Oh, there you go. It didn't take very
And
long
that
to get
is
there.
the chain. Sorry, I just had to put that all out.
I didn't know that. That's really interesting. That's that Barry Weiss connection really
and also it gets even worse because Masha Drakova through Epstein was then connected to Thiel and the Brodergart network.
Right.
And furthermore,
Peter
we have an FBI. This is in the Epstein files that came out. You have a confidential source that believes that Drakova was sent by Russia to steal U.S. tech secrets.
Oh yeah, for sure she was. That's why she set up a venture firm. She set up a venture firm, which Thiel was invested in, Epstein was invested in, and Putin clearly got invested in. They were there to steal all this information. Sorry, Kate, go ahead.
What was that, Kate?
I had found some emails. I don't remember if it was Brock's or if it was the Epstein files, but I was going through both of them, and it was contracts between at least Barack and Epstein and Russia to help facilitate investments by or investments in Western technology
this is
everything that they were. I'll have to find them.
Valar, I think was the name of it. I think this had to do with Wexner gave Barack $2 million in order to invest in this thing called carbon. Long story, but ultimately that was an 8,200.
That was definitely part of it.
Yeah,
and there was more to it because it was very specifically like a consulting contract.
Right, and there was the Ergo as well.
Specifically what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was what they were consulting. So I'll have to find it and share it.
I mean, the things people have to realize is, you had a whole bunch of Russian people with lots of money show up in Israel in the, after the end of the Soviet Union. A lot of them declared themselves Israeli or said they were Jewish, so they got their Israeli passport. Some of them may have been, some of them were not. But they, brought a lot of money with them, thanks to Vladimir Putin, because they landed up being oligarchs. And suddenly in Israel, you had this burgeoning population of Russian immigrants, many of whom were very wealthy. And,
that
people
was
like
in the 70s.
Yeah. Semyon Mogilevich is one of them. Lev Parnas, another one of those. There's a lot of people who made their home Israel, and they were really still operating on Russia's behalf, and they really corrupted Israeli politics, and that's how we landed up with Bibi Netanyahu, and then they brought the same thing over here.
Deb, did you see the racism? That racist email?
No.
Have you guys heard that racist email between Masha and? I got it. Oh, this is because the racism
please.
is also key. Masha Drakova email. This is from December 2017. I'm reading you exactly the email. I'm not making this up. Masha to Epstein. I found criteria to find smart people. The more Jew you are, the smarter you are. You said you're 98% Jew? You're very smart. My ex-boss is 78% Jew. He is super smart, less smart than you are. I have a close friend, business partner, who's 99.3% Jew. He's crazily smart. We take all Jewish people. Sources can be done through relatives. Ask them to do a 23andMe test. Do event for everyone who's 98% Jew. Also, all of them are not religious. Do you think it makes sense, right? Exact verbatim quote email between Masha and Epstein.
Wow.
That is
Wow. I swear to you,
unbelievable.
you just gave me PTSD, remembering doing business in Russia and the Soviet Union, and it would be just like the wording, like, they would hate Jews, but to use them as their accountants and their businessmen to make money, to watch their money, but the racism, you're correct, and it's not just Jews,
Mhm.
it's everybody, black, brown. Russia is
Yeah.
very, very, the Soviet Union when it comes to that. Wow, that was some crazy stuff.
Epstein sends a
Um,
lot of racist emails. He
What
said
what is
something
that?
A
Is
about
that
lot.
water.
white nationalism? Is it Jewish nationalism? Is that what is going on there that is, driving all of this? Because it is true that a lot of
Yeah.
these oligarchs are Jewish, and a lot of Epstein clearly was Jewish. There's a lot of Jews involved in this, and it's certainly not every
well,
Jew that's involved, but there are some Jews that are involved in this.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you another little secret. So in the '70s, a lot of organized crime that needed to get out of Russia, but were not Jewish, but were trying to leave. Literally, in Israel, we're getting 40, 50-year-old men were getting circumcised to be able to try to prove that they're Jewish, getting fake paperwork, and interwound themselves. And there's a huge, and you're right. Even when Barack, I'll give you another little story. So when what's his name ran for in 2000, this was in 2018, I think, or two, when did he run for office, or
Who?
2000,
Hood Barak? Or
yeah.
it
And
was
Not
probably
Ehud Barak,
2000
I mean,
and
not Barack, what's his name,
Netanyahu?
Bibi Netanyahu.
maybe
Yeah,
Netanyahu.
2018.
I think he got into power in 2000. Oh, I mean, he went in and out, but I think his
18.
initial one was like
No, but when
2000.
Mhm.
was it? What was it? The last election, because I
Uh,
remember Trump and Rudy sent me there to help with the Russian vote, because it was, I think, 2018 it
must have been
was,
about
if I'm
2018. Yeah,
correct.
I think right.
2018,
2018.
2018, when he sent
So
me
you were
there
sent
to
there to
help with the.
help rally the Russision vote for Bibi.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I got so much with BB. That's another subject we're going to go into. BB's another Donald Trump, and BB's right hand person was Rudy's, very close. It was a lot of coordination going on at that time. There's so much going on. I don't know. Sometimes it's just depending on the
No, when you
timing
say
what we're
things, that's always
talking
like
about.
stunning to me because you just
That's
pass
why I
them
go
off as like
read
it's
the
just
books,
nothing. But the president of the United States sent you as an emissary to rile up the Russian vote in Israel for Bibi Netanyahu,
Well, yeah,
Wow.
he was losing to the, what's it called?
to Ehud
What was
Barak,
his
I think, at
name?
the time.
No,
Uh,
not Ehud Barak.
Never Barak.
It was who?
Ehud Barak, I
What was
think,
the name
was
you said?
running
No, 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 no. It was either not the president,
oh,
ministers.
it was
Who was the opposition?
I remember his name.
Uh,
It'll come to me in a second. The
I
broadcast,
like
the
anyway,
how
news
you
yeah.
randomly
broadcaster.
just talk to Lev and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, when I was in Russia talking to Putin," you're like, "What?"
Yeah, no, but it's the same thing. It's like Epstein. It's like, how does this happen? That Epstein gets to talk to all these world leaders, but there's Lev Parnas going over and getting the vote for Bibi on
Mhm.
behalf of Trump.
But
It's
there are two countries, right, Zev? I mean, we just look, folks. Look at the evidence. I have nothing against Russians. I got nothing against Israelis. You just look at the evidence. The two countries that realized, oh, we can use Epstein
Yeah,
as a node. It's Russia and Israel.
yeah,
And if I'm a
Mhm.
foreign intelligence agent, Zev, I've said this before. If I was any country's foreign intelligence agent and I saw the traffic that went through Epstein, I would try to either acquire him wittingly or unwittingly as a foreign agent. Because through Epstein, now I have blackmail and information, not just on powerful
Mhm.
people, on institutions, on
right,
world leaders.
right. But I think he was sent by. I mean, sorry, but I think that Epstein is a product of the intelligence agencies. I think that that's not a. It's
Yeah.
not that they found him. I think that they groomed him, they trained him, they made him who
Mhm.
he is, and that's why you have the connection to
Yeah,
Robert
probably.
Maxwell.
Yeah,
That's why Ghislaine
yeah.
Maxwell is there. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein are not really lovers. They're not married to each other. They were just somehow
Mhm.
connected to each other and sent to America with all the money.
Ghislaine came after Eva Dubin.
Well,
Yeah, which
yeah,
she hated
She was
Eva.
first,
yeah,
and
but
then
they'd
Ghislaine.
met much before. They met in the 1980s.
Yes, I just mean as far as the operation goes,
Yeah.
it seems like Eva was in that position, and so there's a lot kind of through the 80s with her.
Oh,
in
you're
that
saying as
relationship.
an intelligence person, maybe Eva as intelligence
Yes,
could be.
100%. And she's 100% part of that. So I couldn't agree with you more. I had found some letters in that birthday book, and I had kind of traced those back to it was Terry Kafka, and
Yeah, his
Epstein had
buddies.
gone on an adventure.
The European
in
adventure.
Europe. Yeah,
Mhm.
and but there was one thing that was like really interesting where Terry had mentioned getting detained in Greece by the police, and they had also mentioned, now mind you, I mean they didn't have a ton of money, but I mean to do this you had to have some kind
Yeah.
of money to do this,
He
and
said he
they
was
talked
living
about
$2 a day.
yes, like they used like no money, and they slept on the train, and it reads like an intelligence thing, like how they would put you through
Yeah.
this stress test almost to see how you handle it. What happens when you get detained by the police? What like all of these things. And I actually found a manual in Epstein's files, this last release, that basically describes this whole process. So it was just really,
I'd be
really
interested to read
interesting.
that.
So I agree with you. I
Oh,
think
can I give you some good news? I mean, just some real quick good
Yeah,
news.
yeah.
Brad Karp of Paul Weiss steps down.
Oh.
It said that
Brad Karp is Paul Weiss is the Brad Karp was mentioned in the Epstein Files. Brad Karp is the CEO of Paul Weiss.
Right,
Paul
right.
Weiss is a corporate law firm that was the
Right.
first one to bend the knee.
Yeah.
Epstein, it was the first one. It was the first law firm to bend the knee last year to Donald Trump. Everyone was shocked how quickly Paul Weiss could bend the knee. We found out. Well, I think we found out because
Now we
Brad
know
Karp
why.
is all over the latest batch of the Epstein Files, where Brad Karp was effusive with praise for Epstein because Epstein got him into a private, exclusive golf club. And then Brad Karp said, "Can you get my son to star in a Woody Allen movie?" And voila! And also Brad Karp represented Leon Black, and Leon Black is the one who apparently connected Brad Karp and Paul Weiss to Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, that is really. I'm glad there are some heads rolling.
One
It's
big
about
happy
time for some
family.
heads to roll. That is big news,
It's a
and
start.
it's important news.
By
Lev,
the way,
Can I circle some of this back? Go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to show you guys for next time. We'll do a special show. I know Waj, for you, my brother, and for you, Zev, and all of you that want. So I just want to show you. This is Yair Netanyahu, Bibi's son.
yeah, I can't see it there, but let me see if I can give you
Is
a
he
wider.
texting you? WhatsApping you?
Yeah, this is our conversations.
As you do.
So
You're telling me that you know Yair well?
how
Get him
what do you
on.
think? Take a look.
Bring him on.
I
Take a
can't
look.
see it there because of the weird way the screen is
Okay,
structured. But I
how-
believe you that you're talking to
Oh,
Yair
okay.
Netanyahu there, who's the heir
You
apparent,
see
and
his
that's wow. And Yair
You've
is
had
very
a strange
close to
life, man.
Now, are you intelligence, Lev? Are you intelligent? Like, where does intelligence meet organized crime? Where does it all meet? No, I am curious because this is where it all connects, right? I mean, it's a little spycraft, it's a little mafia, it's a little everything. What is it?
It's a combination of it's power, and that's what I keep talking about. Power, it controls, and the whole thing that we're seeing right now play out that's never been played out before. All of this we're seeing happens every day in Eastern Europe and all of these countries in Middle East where you don't have a clear constitution. You don't have. That's why everybody wants to be like America. So we're not used to watching all of this, but this type of stuff goes on in all of these countries, all over the place, all over the world. Now you're seeing Donald Trump bring it here. And that's why everybody's like in shock and saying, oh, we got the mob involved. We got corruption. We got, dictatorship. We got all of that. But that's a typical life in Russia, a typical life in a lot of these Eastern European countries, a typical life in the Middle East where you could bribe the officials to get out and do whatever you want or get things done. And now you're seeing it here in the United States. And that's why I keep sounding the alarms and saying that, if we don't act quickly, one day we're going to wake up and it's going to be too late, for a long time. People are going to lose control. And that's why right now, just think of it, we have right now one vote majority. A one vote majority. I mean, if we can't somehow overcome that one vote majority, if there's some kind of democratic leadership doesn't step up to somehow figure out how we could right now with a one vote minority, I'm sorry, not majority, minority, could be able to figure out how to take control of the House before the midterms and start at least pausing some of this craziness, I promise you, he will. Because at a totally separate subject, what we just spoke about in Joy, and I broke some news there, folks, they are planning to indict people in Georgia. They're planning to use, Georgia as a place and then go into, when he says 15 states, let me explain to you what's going on. And this is important. I'm sorry, I'm shifting a little bit gear, but it's very important. So when he comes out on on the podcast, Bongino says, I want to federalize 15 states. He understands he can't go just do it. There's a constitution, the Republicans, everybody will go haywire. So the plan is, about 6 months ago, he put together a group led by Tulsi Gabbard. Under that group is John Ratcliffe from the CIA agent. You got Kash Patel from the FBI and Pam Bondi from the DOJ. They were tasked to look into election reform, what they call it, part of Project 2025. What that is to figure out and find corruption. And what they were trying to, like Georgia, why Georgia was the first state is because in Georgia, they had a lot of accusations and a lot of different conspiracy theories. And that's why right now, what I'm hearing is the plan is to use Georgia as a kind of model, go in there, indict certain people, show that there was doubt, no credibility, the elections are not safe. And then for the other 15 states where they feel that the Democrats can't control a fair and safe election, to implement certain, like no mail-in voting, having ICE agents stand in line, checking IDs, having Republican, and this is the interesting part, what somebody told me, and I'll quote you, is he definitely listened to Putin when Putin told him in Alaska, it's not a matter of who votes for you, it's who counts the votes for you. And this is what is being put into place right now of how this system. So that is,
and if blue states don't agree, he's cutting the funding. That's the other thing he'll do. He's got the threat of cutting all the funding to blue states. So you lose federal funding, or you cooperate with their plan to steal the elections. I mean, that's really the choice.
Can I say one quick thing before I leave, Zev? Just because my family's here. What we've seen from the Epstein Files, and connecting to what Lev just said, and people need to have their eyes wide open, because we saw Tulsi, the head of the Director of National Intelligence, join the FBI raid in Georgia, where they took the original ballots from 2020. Donald Trump was on the phone talking to the FBI agents. Then you saw him openly say, maybe Republicans should take over the elections. We've also seen him invoke the Insurrection Act, and threaten to invoke the Insurrection Act. We've seen now Steve Bannon openly say, ICE should surround the voting polls and straight up intimidate people. He wants to end mail-in ballots. He got that whisper from Putin as soon as Putin said, now he's been obsessed with it, even though he's done mail-in ballots, right? As this is all happening, if you look at the Epstein Files and you look at what Jeffrey Epstein was up to, in the last 15 years, he was perfectly fine, his own words, to undo the post-World War II order, right? Go back to tribalism. He wanted to meet the founder of 4chan, where we got all this QAnon bullshit and nonsense, right? He was perfectly fine helping Putin and Russia. He was perfectly fine seeding these types of ideas to Thiel and vice versa about cryptocurrency, deregulation, destabilizing the financial markets. I think he did it as a cover for his pedophilia, meaning his end goal was his pedophilia. For Thiel and the oligarchy and the other people, the end goal is power. And they were willing, if you just see the documents of the Epstein Files, they were willing to burn down the entire post-World War II order for power. So what would Donald Trump do? And if you think he's going to leave peacefully, folks, I give you the 2020 insurrection. I give you his own words. I give you what's happening in Georgia, and I give you the Epstein Files.
Yeah, this does not end peacefully, for sure. There's going to be something very difficult at the end of all this.
I got to go, guys. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're amazing. Great to have you on, as always.
Get some rest, brother.
And that man works so hard. He's on the Substack all the time, and he deserves every bit of rest he can get. But he's so dedicated to this task. It's great to have him on the show with us. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Ellie, let me put you back in here.
No, it's fine.
There you are. You're back.
There you go.
I've got so many questions. I don't know how much time you guys have left, because I know we're going to wrap up soon. But can I just circle back to one thing?
Let's do. Also, we could do a part two either tomorrow or because I think there's so much.
I wanted to circle back to cover one Katie Johnson thing
go ahead.
as well.
Let's go.
Well, there's two things. Let me do this first, because then it ties into Katie Johnson. This is what Waj was talking about earlier. This is the document that comes from the FBI, which talks about that they called the PBI National Threat Operations Center to report Donald Trump knew and funded underage sex parties at the Donald Trump golf course. And it goes on to implicate. I'll read the whole thing. It's actually really intense when you get into the details of it. X was recently interviewed by an FBI agent. However, he felt triggered as a victim and did not report all of the information. He had recordings of Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell discussing marketing strategies for high-profile sex parties at the Donald Trump golf course. However, X called the recordings to a lawyer, mailed the recordings to a lawyer in the Cayman Islands, and X was part of the Sinaloa cartel and worked closely with Epstein and Maxwell. However, he was able to walk away from the cartel due to his status with Epstein and Maxwell. In the recordings, Trump stated he was aware of the underage sex parties and charged the house money of the golf course to fund the sex parties. So allegations that Donald Trump funded the sex parties out of the golf course funding. And then ex-witness Robin Leach strangled a young girl during a sex party. He claims she is buried behind the 19th hole at the Donald Trump golf course. X is aware of 3 separate occasions in which girls were murdered and buried there. X was told if he spoke about the incident he witnessed, he would end up in the hole as well. X gave Maxwell the idea to put cameras in the golf course to review the cartel members and understand how to market the 12 to 14-year-old victims to the cartel. I mean, these are stunning allegations, if true, and yet so much of it rings true because of the allegations of the Sinaloa cartel that Trump seems to be very, very friendly with. He keeps bringing them over to the country. And this is not only the first time, this is the second exact claim that Robin Leach was involved in a very rough sex incident that landed up in the death of a woman and that she was buried in the golf course or on the golf course. Both in the FBI files, both, as far as I can tell, not investigated. 2 separate reports by 2 separate individuals. To me, that's something you investigate when that shows up. And the FBI did not investigate it. Now, Robin Leach is no longer with us, but it's clear that he and Donald Trump were very close. Donald Trump was a regular guest on the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. It sounds similar, but it is. And I'm going to play one little clip and then I'll keep quiet. This is what, in 1994, this is Donald Trump talking to Robin Leach on that show about his daughter, who's 1 year old at this point.
Donald, what does Tiffany have of yours and what does Tiffany have of Marla's?
Well, I think that she's got a lot of Marla. She's really a beautiful baby, and she's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
But his 1 year old daughter, talking about her breast, talking about Marla's legs. I mean, I don't know. There's a pattern here. There's circumstances. There's whatever you want to say. This is all in 1 year. This is all 1994, by the way. The same year that Katie Johnson was allegedly raped by Trump and Epstein. So,
I mean, if that's the first thing that your mind goes to when someone asks you about your new baby daughter, that just says a lot.
It's not isolated. He did the same thing with Ivanka everywhere she went.
I don't know anybody that's their first thought about their infant daughter. That's gross.
Well, we've heard a little bit about the calendar parties this year. And I remember when I was going back and I was researching, Epstein's time with Trump and what we had on the record. One of the things is they set up a calendar girl party at Mar-a-Lago and they had an event planner there. And the event planner said, okay, we're going to set up this party. How many guests are we going to have? And Trump said, just 2. And he says, just me and Epstein. And it was literally the 2 of them and then all the women, and they just sat there and watched. And that to me said a lot. But I wanted to circle back to something when I was talking to Ed Opperman, who's the PI for Katie Johnson, kind of talking about some of this Mossad stuff. I asked him and I said, she was threatened at the end, right? She had a press conference. She pulled out of the press conference at the very last minute. Like, what happened there? What do you know that happened there? And he said there was a hack to the system, to
Yep.
everything, the whole legal teams, their computers went down, all their information went down. They traced it back, and it came from Israel. The hack came out of Israel, and it freaked her out so bad that she pulled out of the case because
Ed told me
she
that
knew the
also.
history. She knew the history. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I could confirm that. Ed confirmed that to me
Yeah.
also. We spoke about that, and he said that one of the biggest thing that is that the day when she was supposed to go, when we saw earlier, when she was to the press conference, all their computers, everything got shut down. They got hit really hard, and she got really scared. That was one of the
Yeah,
reasons.
because they could trace it back, and it traced back to
This was
Israel.
just as the elections were about to happen in 2016 that elected
4
Donald Trump, because
days.
Katie Johnson would have derailed
4
that
days,
election completely. So if you're asking if Israel was interfering in our elections, and if Russia was interfering in our
Big one.
elections during that one, then you got the answers right there.
And
By the way, around the same time, my entire studio started burning. My microphone started burning one day around that same period of time. So it's not,
It started burning?
my microphone started smoking, like literally started smoking, and I couldn't, and I had to like figure out what it was. And they said that someone hacked your computer and had overheated it to the point that it could have started a whole fire.
That's
So
wild.
I mean, I
it's
honestly,
it's
like,
not.
when I'm sitting here researching, I will like wave at my camera because I'm like, I know that, like, I can't imagine that they haven't like hacked me at this point,
They must
so.
be watching us all very carefully, I'm sure. But it's
Yeah.
that's the world we're in.
That's so scary, though.
Yep.
That's
Well,
really
listen,
interesting
if
information.
they
Ellie.
listen, yeah,
Yep.
and just think of it, if they could use AI technology to trace how people are going to vote in the future, how people are, where they think to prosecute people. They're used it on the generals looking to see who was pro-Trump. I mean, absolutely. And like I said, it's me and Ellie talk about it, and it is what it is. But they are, they're not using. Just think about warrants and procedural. I mean, think about when, back in the Hoover days, how the FBI, if they wanted to just tap a line or go do something, like it just gets done, and then you use, the information you want. Because the other interesting part is they don't have to use that information. You might never know. Like, I'll give you an example in my own case. They used secret stuff, like, that they never could show me because it was an NSA voice technology overseas type of shit that was all blacked out. But they were trying to use that to then get a warrant to be able to, so they could go out there and legally tap you, the government, and listen to your stuff and not use that information to actually prosecute you, but use it to get a warrant to go after you and do certain stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, and they'll use each other. Do you think the Israelis aren't spying on Americans on the American behalf? Of course they are. And so the Russians, this is what they're doing. I want everybody who's watching to really subscribe to the three people in front of you, Lev Parnas, Kate Justice, and Ellie Leonard, for their incredible work that they're doing, and Wajahad Ali as well, who's done amazing. You guys are amazing, and it's great to have people to share this with, because it's such a process. And also the viewers at home who are part of this great crowdsourcing effort. Every single day now, I get tips from the people who are viewers of these broadcasts on Substack Live, or part of our communities. It is so great to have all that support, because there's so much to dig through, and it's fantastic. So I want to give each of you an opportunity to sell yourselves as best as you can. Let's start with you, Ellie.
Oh, me? Okay. Hi, I'm Ellie. You can find me on The Panicked Writer on Substack. I'm at Red Pencil Script everywhere else. I'm going to go, I think, transcribe some coded journals after this. I think that's my next
That's a good
step.
one. That is a really good one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why in a second as well afterwards. Okay. Kate, so everyone should just please follow and subscribe to Ellie. Kate Justice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so mostly you can find me here on Substack, and then also on Threads, and it is just the Kate Justice, the Kate Justice on Threads. And yeah, that's where I am.
And you did some great work on Zorro. We never even got to it today.
Yeah,
but
I didn't sell myself very much. Sorry.
I'm going to sell you a little bit better, because you helped identify that no one had really raided Zorro. By the way, there was a raid in Zorro now, I found out, in 2019. But I don't know what was related to that. I just found out that there was a raid. It happened at the same time as these other allegations that we covered earlier on with Dean on the 5-stack, and it's on the narrative as well. But I don't want to digress us there. But there's more on Zara that's still to come out. And Lev, do you want to tell everyone about why everyone was in the loop, your great merch and your great t-shirts, and also the plan you're working up on how to get all of this, get more attention out of Congress?
Thank you, Zev. I appreciate it. So first of all, I want to definitely shout out to Ellie, Kate, Zev, Waj for all the great work they do, because I'm not an investigator, I'm not a journalist, and I'm just a loud voice that's somebody that's been part of this group and knows how to deal with them to help get this truth out and make sure that we could do it. And without these people here, without this independent journalism team, without, I consider that my team, our team, that we are going to make change. And as I promised all of you guys, this is a year where we're done talking, we're going to go to action. So first steps first is we have a petition out there. We have over 15,000 signature, folks. We need more. We need you to go out there, spread it far and wide. We've added names to it. It's a petition to go out there and get these people subpoenaed in Congress right now while we're fighting to get more Epstein files released, while we're going through more of the shocking stuff. In the meantime, write these dates down, February 11th and 12th. February 11th is a very important day, is because that day, Pam Bondi is going to be testifying in front of Congress about the Epstein files. We are working behind the scenes with certain Congress people to be able to get a front row seat with certain Epstein survivors, to be able to have Pam Bondi look us in the face every single time there's a question mentioned there. We're also working with this team right here. You see it, these 3 individuals and some others behind the scenes that are working besides trying to get this information, but they are also tirelessly helping me put together, I'm just going to deliver it, but they're the ones putting together this a package.
That's what you keep saying, Lev, but you were just helping.
I'm putting the pressure on you.
It's like, wait a second, why did this become our job? This is we will help. We're helping, but this is your show. We're gonna put together a package that's gonna be more than they've come up with, and we're gonna connect the dots. What we're doing here, what we're coming to you, and because the one thing I want to just tell you, because of my knowledge being so close inside of this world of politics of Congress, I'm going to tell you, a lot of these Congress people don't have the wherewithal, don't have the time, don't have the manpower that we have to go through all of these records and be able to go deal with it. So the one thing I think that we could make a big difference is if what we do, what we're talking about, and we put this down and we chew it up and bring it to them, a glossary like A-Z, connect the dots like we're connecting to you. I think you're going to see a lot more Congress people coming out and talking about the crazy corruption that is going and all the stuff that's going in the Epstein files. So it's just another way to help. It doesn't mean any one of these things, but each one of these things is another way to keep pushing until we get control and get back our democracy, folks. So thank you for supporting us, supporting this team, subscribing. And again, the number one thing is pay subscribers, folks. The way it works for all of these people, they don't have corporate sponsors. None of us have corporate sponsors. None of us have billionaires. Most of us have kids. Most of us have families and husbands and wives and you name it, and partners. And it takes a lot of time out to be able to do all this work, to be able to give information. So if you can, become a paid subscriber to all of these incredible independent journalism, because that is what we have to save our democracy today, because the media, CBS, ABC, CNN, they're all gone. There is nobody else. This is the last line of defense, because once the information is controlled by the dictators, it's over with, folks. So that's why independent journalism is number one fight right now in this war against this authoritarianism and dictatorship. So I thank each and every one of you, and God bless you. It's really well said, Levin. It really reminds me that everyone should please share this content as far and wide, and also just talk about it to your friends and family. Make sure everybody knows about this content, because this is not the story you're getting on the national media. This is not what the mainstream media is reporting. They're reporting a very different story about what's coming out of the Epstein files. The truth is really only here on Substack. And I want to thank all 3 of you, and Waj as well, for being here tonight for another really excellent panel on the Epstein files. And we'll be back again, hopefully next week, to do another one, or maybe even sooner. And I'm going to leave you with a little bit of what Donald Trump said about Ivanka Trump as well. We heard what he said about Tiffany, but I'll give you some clips about Ivanka. Is there anything else you guys wanted to throw in before we say goodnight, or are we good?
I just think everybody should subscribe to you, Zev. I don't think we mentioned that yet.
Yes.
I'll take it. I'll take that.
Definitely.
Always happy to have people subscribe. All right, let's listen to Donald Trump and Ivanka. This is an incredible clip reel. Just stunning what he says about her.
Said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop. You know what? You are sick.
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass.
Yeah.
She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
It's
She's
unbelievable.
tall. She's almost 6 feet tall.
Please welcome the lovely Ivanka Trump.
Still, even Ivanka seemed confused when talk show host Wendy Williams asked about things the two have in common.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
If I weren't happily married and, her father.
My daughter, Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
Yeah, she's hot.